Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's Freddie again. I have the MPC Live as well as a keyboard, a Yamaha MX49, and a few instruments, electric guitar, electric bass. I'm just going to share 3 beats that I made on the MPC Live in the past couple days. Yeah, and then we're just going to kind of dissect it and talk about it. NAMM is coming up next weekend, so if you're going to NAMM, I hope you have a good time. Unfortunately, for this year, I won't be going to NAMM. I've been going the past couple of years, and it's always like a crazy time as far as like checking out new gear and stuff like that. Some gear that's kind of piqued my interest was the Akai, showing off the Akai Force, which is basically like a standalone sampler, very similar to the MPC Live, but the layout is kind of like an Ableton push. And people thought it was going to be a controller for Ableton, which it is. Like, it still can control Ableton, but it's a standalone sampler. And I think the best way to put it is it's kind of like a Ableton push, but with an MPC brain on it. So the way they kind of incorporated stuff into the MPC Force, the Akai Force is it's kind of like a performance-based kind of like hardware sampler. So you still have kind of like the brains of like an MPC, but like the clip launching of like performance stuff like you would do on Ableton, as well as some other stuff on there too. So it looks like it could be kind of like a bridge as far as hardware goes that kind of melds those two worlds together. Kind of like if you're an MPC user and an Ableton user like myself, that MPC or the Akai Force can be kind of like a bridge between those two, where you can kind of do performance stuff like you would on Ableton, but then kind of do everything in the box, like meaning like in the Akai Force, and kind of trigger stuff like how you would with or make stuff like how you would on an MPC, but then kind of trigger it how you would on Ableton. So yeah, I'm kind of like very interested in that piece of hardware. Other than that, I see like the Korg is coming out with some new Volca stuff, but it's just kind of like toyish stuff. For me, it is. I've had a bunch of the Volca like synthesizers and modules, but I kind of get rid of them. And just some cool DJ stuff coming out, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and get into it. Not waste any more time. I'm just gonna play some of the beats first, and then we can kind of dissect it here. So here are the sample chops. Yeah. So the way I kind of like I made this beat, it's a really simple track. I kind of worked on this and then I kind of moved on because it was like, I didn't know where else to go with this. But the sample chops are like, it's kind of like two different sample chops, or it's two different kind of patterns played. It's the same sample chops, but I played them differently. So if you split it, it's an 8-bar loop. If you split it in two 4-bar segments, the first chop is like this. And then the second, or the other 4 chops, or other 4 bars, is like this. So pretty simple. And then the drums are basically this. Let me see if I have this right. So pretty simple, like really simple drums. And then the bass line is basically just a one-shot bass one-shot, and then it's in 16 levels. So usually I don't play the bass like that. Like I usually play the bass on the keyboard and then just record it in. But sometimes, very, very rarely, I play the 16 levels on the MPC as far as bass lines go. And that's pretty much it, honestly. And I think there's just like some open hi-hats. I mean, I can add stuff onto it. I was thinking about adding like a synth over this. Yeah, something like that. I don't know exactly what I want to do with this beat. I like it, but it's also very kind of simple. So let's go ahead and get into the next one here. Let's see here. Let's see. So here are the I think this is the sample. Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about this one. So yeah, these are the sample chops right here. This is kind of like a voice sample. And then the drums are this. It's a pretty simple drum. Yeah. And then I play the guitar basically over parts of the song here. I believe it is this one and maybe this one. Let me see. So that, and then there's this one as well, as far as the guitar goes. And then the bass line, oh, here's just like a sleigh bell sample that I just kind of looped up. And then this is like a shaker kind of percussion kind of loop. I don't know what this is. Oh, it's a hi-hat. So I played the bass line the same way on here, just did 16 levels. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for the most part. Let's see here. Oh, and then this is a, let's go back. This is like a little kind of weird synth sound that I found on this keyboard. I'm just playing it over, like, I guess the hook parts. So if you kind of want to hear how I played the guitar on here, like I'm not a guitar player, let me just go ahead and mute the mic, but I'll just kind of quickly demonstrate kind of how I played this. Yeah, so the way I usually play the guitar on tracks is I kind of jam out in a sense until I get the fingering right, because sometimes I'll just record like a very extended recording of me just kind of getting it correct, because like I said, I'm not like a guitar player, so the way I kind of record is I'll just keep practicing and practicing the notes that I want to play, and then I'll take the best out of that recording and then just kind of put it into the song. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I kind of just put the track together. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into this last one. So all of these sounds that I'm using in these beats, they were all purchased. It was an expansion pack basically from Akai. So if you have the MPC Live or MPC X or even the MPC, if you're running the MPC software, you can purchase expansion packs, basically like sample libraries to download directly onto your software or the hardware in this case. And these sounds came from the MPC expansion pack, the Soul Provider sample pack. And this was put together by MSX Audio, as well as I think Kev Brown did a few beats on here as well. So you can go onto the Akai website if you own any of the Akai stuff and purchase it. It's always good to, since I know like Danny from MSX, it's always good to kind of like support all your friends kind of doing their own thing. So yeah, so you got to purchase them. So here is this last beat. If you already follow me on Instagram, you heard this one already, but I can kind of break down what's going on, as well as I think there's a few new things that I added that aren't on that Instagram post. But here are the sample chops. Yeah. So, like I said, this was the samples. Okay. And then the drums are this. So I took the snare from this kit, and then I took the kick from this kit. And then this is the hi-hat. This is, I don't know what this is. We're going to find out. Maybe there was nothing recorded on that one. And that's like a extra kick. The bass line I played directly from the keyboard into the MPC. And then this is actually a keyboard synth, or I mean like a guitar synth played on the keyboard. So here's something that I like to do is, since I'm not a guitar player or a musician or anything like that, I can barely play the keys, is since I can't play like kind of chords or tabs on the guitar, like I know certain things, but nothing like where I can jam out, is I'll play like a guitar synth on the keyboard, something a little bit cheesy. Here, let me just see if I can load it up real quick. So here's like kind of like a guitar kind of sound. It's not the best. It's nowhere near the best. I know there's like stuff like Contact and like maybe Reactor and some other soft synths that sound exactly like a real guitar being played because they use real guitar samples, but in this case it's not. So what I'll do is I'll kind of play a kind of simple kind of thing on the keys like this. So I played that, and what I like to do is layer the real instrument on top of the cheesy instrument. So you kind of are masking the cheesiness of the fake instrument with a real instrument. So I have a guitar here, and what I'll do is I'll play the guitar on top of it, and that's basically what I did with this one. Let me see here. I believe it's this track. Okay, let me mute my mic real quick. So yeah, that's kind of how like I layered like a real instrument on top of a fake instrument. So you kind of blend them together, because there's some things that you can't really do on the keyboard, even though say you have a somewhat similar sounding instrument or like something that kind of sounds like the real thing, is you can't do like those slides like with the guitar or like the bass. So sometimes I'll play like the bass line on the keyboard and then layer a real bass on top of it. Meaning just like the nuances that you get from playing a real instrument, like sliding the strings. Same with the guitar, like sliding the strings. You can't really do that with a keyboard or soft synths. I know there are some that kind of mimic that, maybe within reason, or like I said, with Contact. But it's always cool to kind of layer the real thing on top of something cheesy like that. And then this keyboard sound is just this. Whoops, let me go back. That's all I'm playing, and then it just has like delay and reverb on it. Same with the guitar. The guitar sounds, I'm just basically EQing it like with a high pass filter, as well as a delay and a reverb, so it doesn't sound so cheesy. So if you added like no effects to these, it would sound super cheesy or just not as good. So you kind of create space, like a lot of air and stuff like that, especially with like live instruments. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this beat. I played some like piano stuff on top of this, but I kind of don't like it. Maybe it'll be good later in the outro of the song, but I don't like it with the guitar and everything happening. It might be cool like later. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me go ahead and lower this down here. Okay. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in. This is kind of like 3 beats that I made on MPC. Like I said, all the sounds that I use other than like my own instrument stuff is from the Akai MPC expansion pack. This one is called Soul Provider expansion pack. It's just basically like a expansion pack or sample pack that you can download sounds to use with your MPC Live or MPCX or the MPC software. Like I said, it was put together by MSX. It's always good to support those guys, as well as Kev Brown did a few sounds and beats on here as well. And then that's kind of like some tips, I don't know, that you can kind of use in your own production, kind of layering a cheesy kind of instrument with the real instrument and make it have like more of a real feel or a live feel. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks again for tuning in. Friendly reminder, my audio podcast, if you already kind of follow me, it was on SoundCloud for a long time. I kind of just talk about like things, mainly music stuff, but I kind of go and spill into other things and have guests sometimes. But it's now on iTunes and Spotify, so if you want to stream it, go ahead. I mean, I listen to a bunch of podcasts, especially on iTunes, so that's kind of where it stemmed from, the audio podcast. So yeah, thanks again for supporting. I'll come out with more videos soon. Peace.